Um, but my training in clinical psychology was not really what prepared me to do neuroscience. I think that just comes from an openness to explore scientifically. So neuroscience was not my training at all. And the more the deeper I got, I was studying depression. The deeper I got into it, the more I realized that we weren't studying everything that I thought was going to be important. So right now, as you know, and with your help, we've been studying a cohort of young children who we recruited when they were 9 to 13. We've been following them every 2 years, doing repeated assessments, neuroimaging, in addition to cortisol, blood, biological aging, trying to integrate neural data with other individual difference variable data. But we're trying to understand the effects of early life stress on trajectories of brain development, brain structure, brain function, brain connectivity in boys and girls over the course of puberty to try to understand the increase in depression in girls through puberty. Trying to understand how that happens with the ultimate goal of prevention, which to me is what all of our research is about, trying to prevent the onset of psychopathology that itself can have lifelong adverse consequences. Yeah, well, not for me because I'm old, but if you're starting, then of course tenure and the more interdisciplinary the field becomes and the more you're writing articles with a lot of co-authors, the more difficult it is to make your stamp on your research to identify what you're doing for tenure. And I recognize that's a difficulty. I was going to be a therapist. I was going to be a clinical psychologist in practice. And so I went into graduate school in clinical psychology. And it didn't take long before I realized that wasn't for me, that I don't have the patience to sit with a person and listen to their problems. So I just got much more interested in research and science and made a decision probably halfway through that that was the path I was going to take. So sure, during the pandemic, I thought about leaving academia. It was just, but to be able to distinguish between pandemic fatigue and career fatigue, and it was pandemic fatigue. I never thought about leaving for a different job, right? I love doing what I'm doing. My students are great. My collaborators like you are just wonderful. And I can't imagine a more engaging, flexible um, environment, right, to be in. Stick with it. It's not easy. There's a, excuse me, there's a pretty steep learning curve to this, but it's well worth it. And I think the best advice I can give you is to, at every choice point, keep as many options open as you can. Just don't close doors prematurely if you don't have to.